People, Deluded, I'm back again. Good morning, and I hope you're all doing well this Monday morning, especially my Arsenal fans, because as you lot know, obviously on Sunday, congratulations to Spurs. At the end of the day, they won the North London derby. They get the bragging rights. Now, I'm going to speak about it from a tactical point of view, but again, you lot know it's the same old themes. We shot ourselves in the foot. Inability to manage games. When you go 1-0 ahead, you know, in a game like this, especially where both teams need to win because they've been relatively woeful this season, to give their fans something, see out that result. And if you are going to concede, make it very difficult, for Spurs to score. We made it easy, you know, 3 minutes after taking the lead, individuals in Kolasinac unable to focus and playing silly back passes. You know, on reflection of that goal, I'm not blaming Martinez and I'm not blaming Luis because their hands were tied. Luis couldn't bring him down. I think Martinez did quite well to come off his line very quickly. Potentially, if he didn't come off his line, you know, maybe Son has a decision to make and he might miss, but it's neither of their faults. It's Kolasinac. And to be fair to Kolasinac, this game, he has to hold his hands up. If it's not him, it's someone else, doing something. So individual errors and an inability to focus, inability to manage games. I actually feel watching this game a couple of times again, it was a game of four halves in that you had two first halves and two second halves. I feel first 10 or so minutes in the first half went to Spurs. Then obviously we scored and they obviously got the cheap goal, but generally it was like that. Second half we was on top for about 20 minutes, 25 minutes or so, and then they had the last 20-25 minutes. And most crucially, and you go and watch them goals again, people, you can see the gap starting to open. Spurs' second goal came because we're creeping into old habits. Like, you look at us at the start, people, you know, apart from Kolasinac's mistake, we was next to each other. But obviously in the second half, when we're on top of a team and we're forward and we're doing our things like this, gap started to open up, people, and you started to see us get exploited with our back three. They started to become undisciplined. They started to become too much gaps between them, like Mustafi. And there was no coincidence. You were seeing Son, because he's playing up front here, or who was playing left wing like Mora, getting in behind, and then you were seeing incidences like I'm sure you all saw a couple of times Mustafi's beaten out here rather sillily, and there's the infamous time where, you know, Harry Kane's going nowhere, he dives in and he gives something for Kane to work with. So we started to creep into old habits, and I think they exploited that very well from us, people, in the second half and things like that. I think for Spurs, they stayed in position. I don't know if it was a byproduct of what Jose actually tried to do or just something that happened in the game. And I don't know if to credit Arsenal, but I think they didn't press us aggressively. They kind of let us play with the back four, and when it got into this midfield areas, when they were quite snappy and things. And I feel for both teams generally, I know second half there was more joy from Son, and Son obviously got he scored, and I can't remember if he actually put in the corner. I think he did. I could be wrong on that, but I personally feel it wasn't a game for our wide men. I think the wide men in them areas that did have joy out wide was both teams' fullbacks, people, because I feel Spurs became quite, obviously put them a bit higher. They became quite narrow after a while. And obviously Arsenal's fullbacks were the only ones with the width, like you could see with our attackers here. You know, Pepe, Lacazette and Aubameyang, they were quite narrow, people, together, too close to each other. And that was obviously allowing our fullbacks to bomb on. Tierney and Bellerin did okay in that incident. Lacazette was obviously dropping deep and things like that. I don't feel we tested Aurier enough. I know crucially Aurier, you know, it is Aurier's fault why Lacazette scored that banger and we went ahead. You know, we had about 2-3 chances. You know, he fails to deal with the header. His touch is baggy. I think Xhaka depossesses him, wins the ball back, and Lacazette thumps it into the back of the net. And I think Spurs did a good job of keeping us in our own half in the first half of the first half, because you could see, people, the long balls that we was trying into the channel for Aubameyang or Pepe, they weren't working, and I felt that was an area we could have tested a bit more and tried to exploit Aurier, because I think he did okay in that regards, really. He showed he's shaky, but we didn't really test him and put him under real sustained pressure. Obviously a big, you know, and even more concerning reason to do that is clearly Jose recognised that, or he wouldn't have put Sissoko out wide and try and make him do this defending thing, more or less, people. So it was quite terrible, man. Like I said, the goal we conceded, first goal we conceded, was a poor mistake from Kolasinac. Like, I don't know, he's on the ball here. You know, you're playing blind passes backwards, and you've given him a decision to make. Obviously, their second, like I said, came because our defence was slipping into old habits. We're too high and wide for each other in the back three. You know, they've got their strikers Their wide men are starting to press and they're starting to counter-attack us, and we're giving the ball away in dumb areas, to be fair with you. The set piece, I don't know what we're doing. I don't even need to show you like that, but the zonal marking, I don't know what it is. I don't know why Tierney is marking Toby Alderweireld, one of the strongest players in their team, in the air, and just a height mismatch. You know, away from that, it's almost like the whole team is caught flat-footed for the goal we conceded, people. I think, you know, it was a weird game, and you can't really praise any. Neither team was perfect, but I feel their game plan, or what Jose tried to do, he worked a number, because at the end of the day, 4-4-2, Winks and Lo Celso did a lot of dirty work, especially with a lot of, you know, the dark arts of the game, creating fouls, disturbing plays, stopping breaks from us, and they did that to expert effect. And the ref, I don't know how he didn't book either player sooner, but, you know, our loss is their loss, our loss is their gain, sort of thing. A quick note on our possession. Obviously, it's difficult doing it the other way. We're the attacking team here, so it's difficult for me. But it was almost like a 4-5-1 without the ball. Like you could see, I think you saw our fullback, support our defenders and become a back five. You obviously saw everybody drop naturally. So you could say it was a 5-4-1 out of the ball, or if you want to incorporate the defenders as midfielders, you know, the other way around. But I think the shape was decent. I think Lacazette was dropping deep to get onto the ball. There's no way of praising Ceballos. I think Ceballos did well in that regards of playing the ball forward and things like that. But ultimately, we shot ourselves in the foot, people, today, man. That's what, like I said, beyond us holding that 5-4-1 shape sort of thing, people, beyond the goal we scored, I don't feel we was decent. I feel, you know, Pepe was getting on the ball in little bursts and dribbles. He was having to drop deep. I feel Ceballos has a positive game. Martinez was okay. Lacazette, you know, a rare start under Arteta, and a goal to come with that start. Beyond that, we shot ourselves in the foot. I think Spurs, you know, Spurs weren't perfect, but watching the game again, I think I won't say Jose did a number, but I think that 4-4-2 worked very well, and there was a lot of dirty work. There was a lot of factors which went against us. Like for me, the last 20 minutes in the second half shows everything. We assumed that we was walking away with something there. We got extremely complacent. We slipped into old habits. Fullbacks are allowing a lot of gaps, and they exploited it, people. And what I don't understand is, it's away from this. It's almost like you've gone against Jamie. You've lost you've had 2 wins in your hands and lost them both in the same week. But for me, what I don't get, people, is just looking at Jamie Vardy and Kane, yeah? Vardy's obviously plays different from Kane in that, and there's both similarities. Like, just say this is Vardy. Vardy, you know Vardy is he can do the middle thing, but Vardy's thing is the channels, or, you know, when you look over your shoulders, you can't find him, like he did in the 86th minute and scored against us. Kane didn't score today, people, but you go and look at a couple of his goals. We're not aware, man. There was one chance, I think it's where he tried to chip Martinez. Moura has the ball, he sees his Cody's gone and he plays it in, and I think we're not aware of what's happening on the shoulder, and that was happening with Kane in the second half, because like I said, with our back three, we was getting complacent, gaps were starting to open up, and Kane was going unmarked. Or if Kane was sometimes drifting into these positions and the ball was going over the top, and obviously like you were seeing with him and Mustafi, I don't get it. I don't get how you can go into this week knowing you're playing 2 of the most lethal strikers in the league. And numerous times in the game, I'm seeing centre-halves and left-backs looking around, they're unaware. I'm seeing them consistently getting into the channels. Now, naturally, they're quality players, they will, but we engineered our own mistakes. The 2 goals we conceded, like how we conceded against Leicester, these are cheap goals. These are cheap goals we're conceding because we're not able to see out leads, because we're not able to play to high. We're not playing to high standards anyways, but we're not able to keep sort of high standards when we begin to tire. There's no coincidence in the last anything from the last 25 minutes or half an hour is why we're conceding a lot of goals, why we're throwing away a lot of leads, beyond everything that's going wrong with Arsenal. And I mean, for us, possession is 9/10 of the law. There's been times we've lost to teams where we've had less possession, and people say it's a masterclass, but it's what you do with possession. I don't feel we did anything really. I think Ceballos looked like he wanted to make things happen, but I don't think we tested Lloris enough. I think our play lacked intensity. I don't know if it's because fans are not there. I think it's personally because our foot was off the gas. Spurs had something to play for in that. Both teams do. It's a North London derby, but you know, Spurs have had more question marks in the papers because of their form than us slightly, and I think we played with a lack of intensity, and again we can keep sitting here and saying if this didn't happen but this happened, and that's, and a lot of it's true. If Kolasinac doesn't do any of these things, but we've been along these courses now as a team, we keep going through this. I keep finding myself sitting in these videos and saying the same mistakes. If it's not Kolasinac, it's going to be Mustafi, it's going to be Luiz. And it's concerning to see Luiz has been given a new deal beyond the obvious, to hear talk of Mustafi, who's had a decent season, but these men are not good enough to take Arteta to the level he wants, or the club, and it's beyond Arteta. I do think a lot of these individuals and formation and stuff he's doing is because he can't change much. But if this is an indicator as what he wants to do next year, then you know these players are going to fail the thing before it's even started, and we're doomed before we've even begun. People, it really doesn't make anything better. Arteta, I can almost guarantee Arteta's telling them these things until he's blue in the face, but he can't account for these stupid mistakes people are doing, the lack of concentration, the lack of street smartness. You know, we're conceding the winner Spurs scored is coming 9 minutes from time, you know, and like I said, that goal came off the back of the last 20 minutes, which, you know, ended in them scoring that goal, really and truly. They were getting, our backs were against the wall and they were starting to get onto the ball. So who is stopping and saying, yo, you know what, fullbacks, next 10 minutes, everybody sit in, let's clear our lines, let's play convincingly. There's a serious lack of game management. Of course, some of it, the manager has to take responsibility. It comes down to him as well. But I think it's the players. Like, the players have got to be able to figure these things out. The players have got to have the temperament. The players have got to have the nerve. And I don't understand what's going wrong. We lost this game because we slipped, because of individual errors, because we slipped into old habits, because an element of complacency was there, because there was a lack of intensity. Of course, we didn't have the rare chances we had, we didn't take advantage. But again, we're sitting here and saying the same things again, and I feel sorry. The only positive is that Lacazette scored a cracker. You know, Ceballos looks encouraging with every start. Kane actually didn't score, and it's almost, you know, death taxes and Kane scoring against Arsenal seems to be assurances in life. But this is the one time the bookies probably made money on Kane in a North London derby sort of thing, people, because he failed to score. It was shocking the way we was conceding these goals, people. It was appalling, man. It's cheap goals. It's cheap goals. We're engineering mistakes. It's like, even though we got battered against City 3-0, we're giving them these goals, people. It's silly individual errors, and it's choices. We're choosing not to learn from where we're going wrong. We're choosing to be in these same situations and not do anything different. I'm not saying we're purposely going out there to lose, but a mistake made more than once is a choice. And of course, it takes a while to eradicate bad habits, but some of these footballers throughout their careers have had this. Some of these footballers, I have to assume they made no effort to learn, because, you know, you can watch all the videos in the week. What were you watching? What did you learn from the game against Jamie Vardy in Leicester? Fair enough, we got a man sent down, but game management, defending in the last quarter of the game sort of thing, you know, being aware of where lethal strikers are. These are themes that kind of went against us against Spurs, people, because there was a number of heart-in-mouth moments, people, really and truly. It is sad. And for Jose, you know, he's unbeaten in about, Spurs are unbeaten in about 6 against us. Jose's unbeaten in about 5 home games, I believe, against us. For Arsenal, we still haven't beaten a top 6 team away since January 2015. You know, we've dropped 21 points from winning positions this season. Admittedly, people, it says only Spurs have lost more, but I'm sure I've seen that same stat floating for 15 points, and now I'm seeing it for 21. Either way, we're dropping a lot of points. We've won just 1 of 10 games under Arteta where the opposition has scored first. Sorry, people, that's wrong, because that was irrelevant. Sorry, I mistake that. Arsenal have won just one of the 10 Premier League games under Mikel Arteta where the opposition has scored, winning just 1, drawing 5, and losing 4. So we're unable to take setbacks in games and turn defeats into draws, and draws into wins, and, you know, draws into wins from the beginning and things like that. You know, we allowed 9 shots from Spurs today. We had 76% possession, but crucially less shots than Spurs, and most crucially than that, 13 points, people. Sorry, 3 points, so we dropped 13. See the same stat I said about 21 points in the Premier League this season. It also says since Mikel Arteta was appointed, Arsenal have dropped 15 points from winning positions. So I believe the 21 points is all season. Mikel Arteta, I assume, since he's taken over, and we've only got 1 win and just 6 points from a possible 27 against the Big 6 this season so far. And, you know, the same errors are there. And to be honest, if you're not going to learn against Leicester, the mistakes you learned from Leicester, and incorporate that against Spurs, and you're not going to learn against Spurs where you've played Kane and Vardy, then God knows what these players must be thinking in the run-up to playing against Sadio Mane, Mo Salah, Firmino, who loves to disrespect Arsenal, and the rest of it. I can't have much hope now. My only hope is that Liverpool's foot is off the gas. You know, whether they're winning, losing or drawing since they've been crowned champions, their foot's kind of been off the gas. You're hoping that Klopp plays his under-18s, and to be fair, he played his under-18s in the Cup. they smacked us, probably need his under 14s to play, and even then we'll still see the same errors, people. So I hope we learn from these mistakes, but it's a case of same old, same old. 45% of Arsenal goals conceded this season have come from set pieces, and I think under Arteta we showed an initial improvement in set pieces, but I think we're quickly losing it now. I mean, you look at Brighton, we're undone by a short set piece. Today it's a mismatch. We're doing a bit of zonal and a bit of man marking. People that are doing man marking clearly lost their men because every defender is left flat-footed. Tierney against Toby Alderweireld, no matter how decent I think Tierney is in the air, is a mismatch. Toby's bigger than him, Toby's stronger than him, Toby, you know, got the leverage on him to run up because Toby just has to watch the ball. Tierney has to watch the man himself and the ball. It's a mismatch. I mean, I don't understand what's going on there, and as poor as I think that is, I have to put that one at the feet of Arteta because set pieces, he's probably telling them where to be, and the players just need to learn. There's no point saying ifs. Every time I listen to Arsenal players speak or the managers speak, there's always ifs and buts, and a lot of that is true, but ifs and buts don't win games. We need to deal with the facts. The facts are we was poor, and again we've given Spurs 2 cheap goals, like against City, like against Brighton, like in the dying numbers against Leicester, and this is why we dropped 21 points from winning positions, and so far under Arteta 15. He's got a lot to do, and again it's another one of them games, people, where I'm sitting there and I'm looking at Arteta and I'm like, do you know what, there's nothing you can do if you're not given better tools. You know, you've shown that you can do this tactic thing, that you can install things, but these players just have bad habits. Like, they just have bad habits, and you know, some of these players have if they show the willingness, fair play, but have not showing the willingness to consistently improve. And for the likes of Mustafi, Luiz and Kolasinac, you know, let's not be reactionary. They have been in good form in recent weeks, but the problem is it's just form. They will always let you down when it's most important, when you need to take points away. And to be fair, you know, they'll be good for 4 or 5 games, and then when it's pressure on, you know, points are getting, you need to tally up points, they're letting us down. And when you're doing this 5, 6, 7 times collectively over a season, these things happen. And I mean, for Rob Holding, I know Arteta kind of spoke about momentum and these things. You must be thinking, what have I got to do to get a game? We've got a left back playing centre half with no defensive bond. His body's ahead of me, and I mean, for Arsenal, it's concerning, man. Like, you at this point, you might as well just play the youngsters. Admittedly, there's not too many young defensive prospects in the 23s. I think like can step up right now, but they can't do much worse, man. Because I don't know what's going on. Like, I really don't know. These players, they're not learning from habits, people. 9 of the 17 goals we've conceded in the Premier League under Arteta so far have been scored in the 75th minute. So that's something for Arteta to work on. Maybe he can change his substitutions. But for me, the players are showing an inability to manage out a game, to say, okay, cool, we've taken the lead in the first half, let's try and get another, or let's be sensible. It's half time, let's start well in the second half. It's the second half, Spurs are on top of us, let's go back to basics. 2 banks of 4, let's clear our lines, let's see out the lead. You get, when we've gone 2-1 down, a cool head to try and get back in the game and things like that. We are unable to manage a game over several incidences, people, and this is why we're in the mess we're in. I've got nothing more to add, so I'm going to keep it moving, people. But it is what it is, and one thing I don't understand is we had more of a rest period than Spurs, and we somehow managed to look lethargic, people. At a time, people, we only conceded 12 goals under Arteta, but our expected goals suggested that number should have been around 20. And since the restart, people, we've shipped 9, and our expected goals against is 10.7. So you can't outrun expected goals. You can't run away from that. And I think the account Orbino, Twitter, I think he works for Opta, but does like the Arsenal stats. Very good account for stats mean nothing in isolation, but I think he provides stats with context, or for me anyway, stats with context, because a lot of the things I'm saying in these videos, he's backing up with stats, and I'm like, it's telling you the picture and showing the mammoth task that Arteta and those ahead of him have, people. Because to be fair, if you're giving Mustafi and them and their new deals, you know, you're telling people that mediocrity is cool, because again, this is mediocre performances. We're praising minimal improvements because of how we've been as a club. In relation to this tactic review, I'm done though, man. It's best I just want the season to be done. Let me just move forward to Liverpool. I'll be back for the review of the Liverpool game. You know what, we've got Liverpool, Villa, in no order. We've got City in the Cup, FA Cup. We've got to play Villa still, we've got to play Watford, I believe, and we've still got City and Liverpool to come. So, you know, the season's almost done. Just a week or so more and we're done with this, people. So yeah, this week we've got Liverpool and City. Saturday, hopefully convincing performance, because it's a big game. Liverpool, hopefully, if we have to lose, a respectable defeat, not these typical cricket scores we've succumbed to under Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp's men. But for now, peace. people, it's always a pleasure. Like I said, Spurs 2, Arsenal 1. Tactical review done. Win, lose or draw, I'll always be here. Please make sure you comment your opinions. Please make sure you like and subscribe. It's really appreciative, the number of donations I've received via PayPal. Links are in the description if you wish to do that, and I appreciate it because it allows me to make improvements. But let me not take up more of your time. I've already been waffling and overstaying my welcome. It's always a pleasure. Deluded.